Alright, now that we have a good understanding on what Wikiblock is, I'm going to show you how you can use our website to download Wikiblock for yourself. The first thing you're going to want to do is head over to betterblock.org. Once you get there, you should be able to find the open source tab. Let's go ahead and click on that. That'll bring you to the main Wikiblock page. We have a description on what Wikiblock is, as well as some featured designs. But real quickly, in the drop-down menu for the tab, there is the About Wikiblock. If you need to look into more history about Wikiblock, you can find that information there. There's the Wikiblock library, which we'll be diving into here in a second. That has all the Wikiblock in there. And then there's a fabrication help page, which later on in this video, we'll dive into a little bit more. So let's go ahead and click on Wikiblock library. Once you get there, you will see that we have some categories: seating, streets, signs, games, planners, markets. In the other tab, we have a few other subcategories. There's custom designs. That's basically custom designs that BetterBlock does for our specific projects. You won't be able to download those, but you can see what's possible with Wikiblock. There's the age-friendly line. There's some designs specifically made for construction. There's the competition designs that we add to our library from those competitions. And then we also have some designs that use the metric system, so you can find those there. And then another key thing to note is the star tested and approved by BetterBlock. Essentially what that means, if you see any Wikiblock with a star, that means we have updated the cut files. They have dog bones added to them. We have files that don't have dog bones. We have added 3D models of the designs, and we have updated the assembly manual, so all that's there. And then we've also tested them out recently, so we sort of give it the BetterBlock seal of approval, so be on the lookout for those. So let's go ahead and dive into finding the Wikiblock we need. I'm going to go to seating. This image shows some of that. I like this sort of cafe set, so let's scroll down and see if we can find that one. Oh, it's right there, the Guster Cafe set. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. That'll bring me to the Wikiblock's main page. We have some additional images showing what that looks like in reality, so you can better understand if it's what you want. I think it's what we want, so I'm going to add it to our cart. That's going to bring me to our cart. You could go back and add more items to your cart and then check out later. And as you see, it's $0 because it's completely free. So let's go ahead and check out. Once you check out, we're going to ask you for some extra information just so we can reach out to you later, see if everything worked out. But we'll also be sending up a follow-up email with the download in it as well. So you might want that for later. But after you hit continue, that's going to bring you to this, and we're going to place the order. And after you place the order, that's going to bring you to the page where you should be able to download the Wikiblock. It also brings you to this, where it sort of prompts you to maybe try out our fabrication help page. So now that you can take that cut file and share it with the Fabricator. So yeah, you just click download there, and that'll download the zip to your desktop. Alright, once you've downloaded the zip file and extracted the files, it should bring you to a folder with these items inside of it. I'm going to walk through what that is. The first thing you might notice is the important README. So that is important to read. Basically, it's going to be breaking down what I'm breaking down in this video, but it tells you everything that's in what you just downloaded. So definitely read through that. So let's dive into the good stuff. So you'll see here we have 2 folders as well as an assembly manual. So the first thing you might want to do is look through this assembly manual. It'll give you a good idea of all the steps it's going to take to get your Wikiblock made. It will point out any tools you might need. Most of the time it's just a mallet, but sometimes you might need a ladder or a saw or things like that. And then it'll also provide you some dimensions, so you'll be able to understand if it's going to fit where you need it to fit. And it might be a good thing to share with the Fabricator as well, so they have an understanding on what you're trying to get done. But the first folder we have here is a 3D models folder. Let's open that up. And we have three different file types for 3D models. We have a .3dm or Rhino, we have a .obj, we have a .stl. Depending on what your needs are, hopefully those will work out for you. But in each one of these models, we have both an assembled model and all the pieces sort of laid out. This way you can maybe make some updates to the model itself or populate a site model that you might have. So hopefully that is super useful to you as well. Sometimes fabricators ask you for a model just so they get an idea of what's going on, so that's something you can share with them. So let's head back. The main thing, the most important element probably in this folder is going to be the cut files. And so we provide an image of each unique cut file in a set. This is something you could share with the fabricator. This basically shows what the cut file should look like, what all the elements should look like if the file is cut properly. And so this will be a pretty useful tool to share with the fabricator. And then we export each cut file in three different formats. We have .ai or Illustrator, .dwg, and .dxf. These are pretty common. But we also went ahead and provided both cut files with dog bones and without dog bones. Sometimes it's a little bit easier for fabricators to make updates to drawings if they need to, if the cut files don't have dog bones. Or sometimes fabricators like to add their own dog bones, so you can just share all of them with them and they'll be able to make that decision on their own. But yes, that is ultimately what's in what you just downloaded. So now we'll move on to some other things that will help you out in the fabrication process. Alright, now that we've downloaded our zip file and we understand what's in the folder, I'm going to walk through some of the tools we have on our fabrication help page. So let's go ahead and click on that. That will bring us to our fabrication help page. It's taking its time to load, but this is probably the video you're watching right now. And we have some additional tools that we did in partnership with We Can Make. One of the tools they developed is a tool that helps you figure out what kind of sheet material and finish you might want to use depending on your specific needs. So when you open up that app, it will sort of give you a couple of prompts, some sliders to see what exactly you're looking for, and then it'll spit out some recommendations for the materials and finish you should use. And then also we have this DXF adjuster. This might be something you use if you're a fabricator. Essentially, it just scales a cut file down a little bit depending on your sheet material thickness. As we know, sheet materials can vary to a small degree, and so if you want just the right fit, that might be something you want to use. And then here at the bottom we have two other resources for you. We have a Wikiblock Fabricator email template, which I'll dive into a little bit more. And then we also have the Wikiblock Fabricator Requirements, which is basically a sheet that you could share with the fabricator that breaks down all the sort of machine requirements that they're going to need in order to cut out a Wikiblock. So I'll dive into those now. Alright, now I'm going to walk through that Wikiblock Fabricator email template. This is something you can copy and paste into your own email when you're reaching out to fabricators, and it's a good starting point. So first thing is, hello, my name is your name there. I'm looking for a CNC fabricator to cut and sand custom CNC furniture pieces from 4 foot by 8 foot 3/4 inch plywood. These designs come from an open source library called Wikiblock. I like to link out to Wikiblock so a fabricator can click on that, and if they see our page, they should be able to get a really good understanding on what we are looking for. And then the next thing, we want to sort of break down what exactly we're asking for. We need X number of sheets cut by whatever date, and if possible, delivered. It's important to ask if they can deliver, because sometimes fabricators can't deliver, and so you're going to have to figure out how to transport that material once they've cut it to where you need it to go. And then you can ask them to review the cut files and see if it's something they can take on. If not, do you have any recommendations for other fabricators? So this is a question I like to ask. Sometimes either they might be really busy or they might not have the right machine to cut wood, but fabricators know other fabricators, so this is a good place to see if you can get any other leads on the right fabricator for this job. Additionally, does your business supply plywood, or do I need to arrange delivery to your shop? Some fabricators have plywood in stock. Some fabricators know a supplier that they like to work with, and some fabricators don't, so it's important to ask if that's something you need to figure out. Do you need to reach out to some sort of place that supplies plywood, order that, and get it delivered to their shop? So it's good to know that as soon as possible so you can make those arrangements. And then, of course, see if they have any other questions. Best your name, and then don't forget to attach the cut files and the reference image. You can also go ahead and attach the assembly manual. You can attach maybe the 3D models, anything you think they might need in order to really understand what you're trying to get. But this is a good starting point in order to communicate with the fabricator. Next, I'm going to be walking through the Wikiblock Fabricator Requirements. This is basically a sheet that breaks down what a fabricator is going to need in terms of equipment and sort of understanding of cut files in order to cut your Wikiblock cut files. So a lot of this stuff is primarily meant for fabricators, but if you're a fabricator yourself, this might be something you want to look through. If you have all the things here, then you should be able to cut Wikiblock without any problem. But do they have the right bed size? Do they have the right bit size? The material thickness, the vector recognition. This is an important one, more so for the fabricator again. But basically, we work with 4 different kinds of vector types. We have pocket cuts, inside profiles, online profile, and outside profiles. And then we provide 3 different kinds of cut file types, which is going to be DWG, DXF, and .ai. And then we also have a reference image below that sort of showcases what those different vector styles mean. And so if they understand this and they have sort of this equipment there, they'll be able to cut your Wikiblock no problem. Another really important thing to go over is how do you even locate these fabricators? And so I'm going to walk through basically what I do in order to find fabricators near a project. The first thing you're going to want to do is figure out where exactly do you need the elements delivered. I'm going to use our office as an example. But if you have a project site, if it's going to be delivered to your home, maybe go on to Google Maps, search for that, and we're going to start there. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a search for nearby. Some of the things you might want to search are going to be CNC fabricator, CNC wood fabricator, plywood fabricator, cabinetry makers, maker spaces. These are sort of the search terms you're going to want to use to locate a fabricator near you. So I'm going to start off with CNC router is a good one. Let's see, CNC router, and let's do wood. So do that search and let's see what we find nearby. Let's see, Hexagon Manufacturing, Cabinet Vision. Okay, you can find the place, visit their website if they have one. On their website, they're going to have some information about what they're able to do. Let's see, it looks like they do a lot of metal work, but this is where you can, see if there's any contact information there, or maybe go back to the maps, and if they have a phone number, call them up, see if Wikiblock is something they can do. It might be hard to explain over the phone, but you could at least start that conversation there. And then they might ask you to send some of your cut files and things like that. Again, you can always share our website, but it's really this simple. You're just going to want to, figure out where it's going to be delivered to. ultimately where it's going to end up. Find a place near that location via Google Maps or whatever map sort of search engine you like to use. Search nearby, and again, use terms like CNC router, CNC machine, wood, plywood, fabrication, those sorts of words. So we'll create a list of words as well that you can use, but it's really that simple.